So, here we are at a video that I'm pretty sure all of you have been anticipating because, well, there's an album that we're going to go over that we really haven't been anticipating, but we were going to go over it nonetheless.
We were anticipating it for much different reasons than we normally anticipate albums.
So naturally, we are going to go over the latest offering from 6 Feet Under, Killing for Revenge. This comes out on the 10th of May on Metal Blade Records. For some reason, they're still there. This is their 17th full-length / misguided vanity project. We're counting the Graveyard Classics, which they're not classics, they're just awful too. And we're here because we reviewed the last one, Nightmares the Decomposed, and man, that album is awful. Still, might have been like a low point for this band, but sometimes it's really kind of hard to measure the low points and high points because there's not a lot of high points.
No, I can count on one hand, pretty much only a couple fingers as to what may have been considered a high point for 6 Feet Under. It definitely was not the last album.
No.
Whatsoever. In fact, when people say, show me a bad album, that's the first one that comes to mind. I'm sure it's the first one that comes to mind with, I'd say a good 97, 98% of metalheads out there.
I mean, the internet definitely trolled it into the ground, and rightfully so. It was a terrible album. Now, when it comes down to my relationship with this band, I only own their debut, Haunted, which I got because, I mean, it had Chris Barnes in it. And when that came out, Chris Barnes still seemed, pretty cool. Yeah, and when I listened to it, I was like, man, this Obituary album sounds different. It's an okay album. I mean, it's every riff that Alan West wrote for Obituary that they didn't want. So like, well, I'm going to give them to my buddy Barnes, and we're going to make our own band, and blah. And that's kind of how 6 Feet Under was born, I think.
Yeah. I own Maximum Violence and Warpath and True Carnage, and really if you were to take those 3 albums, I can count again on maybe one hand how many songs off of those albums I actually enjoy. Torture Killer, I think, is still to this day one of my favorite 6 Feet Under songs ever, and that's not saying a lot because there's not much to latch on to outside of that, at least for me, as far as 6 Feet Under is concerned.
Yeah, this band's career has been interesting. Like, I know this band has a loyal fan base, and believe me, we'll hear from them.
Oh, yes.
But, I just really have not got the appeal of this band, especially with the diminishing returns here lately. Now, to be fair, like, going into this album, I expected something on the level of the last one, if not worse. I felt like, Barnes' vocal trajectory was heading somewhere towards the old lady that did the voice of E.T., but it didn't go that route. In fact, I will say, right out of the gate here, that this is an improvement on the last one. But I'll also say that that statement in itself means absolutely nothing because Nightmares That Decompose was absolute dog shit.
Again, I'll say that we were excited for this record to come out, not for the reasons that most people would be excited for a record to come out, but I mean, we wanted to know simply, was it going to be as big of a train wreck as the last album? And that's, I think, what we found exciting.
Yeah. So, all right. I did say that this was a little bit better than the last one.
You did.
Yeah, we're going to lead in with all the things that we liked about this, which, believe me, that'll be the shortest segment. And then after that, we'll go into, well, a lot of criticisms. But first off, I will say that this album overall is far more energetic and fast-paced, and production-wise, it is an improvement over the last one.
That's not really hard to do either. The last record I know we compared to being recorded in a porta potty, and I would state that they at least moved up a little bit into maybe like a gas station bathroom. Like the mix isn't bad. The guitars are fairly crunchy. The drums sound better than a bunch of nickels being run over by a train. I don't really like the drum sound. It, again, sounds to me like it was recorded on an electronic kit. There's something about the snare drum and something about the kick drum and the way they hit that make them sound digitized.
I would have to agree on that one, but I like the additional energy on here because, well, the last one sucked. It sucked at kind of the same speed from track to track, and this one kind of sped it up a little bit. Hell, there are blast beats on Ascension and Bestial Savagery that kind of give this a little bit more energy. And I would say that there's a good thrashy backbone to a lot of the faster sections on here. There's definitely more like heavy tremolos and such. And it does just feel more energetic overall. Like it's not lethargic. Well, all right, not entirely. We'll get to that.
And I'll even say that the first couple songs, at least at first glance when I heard them yesterday, were kind of a shocker because it didn't sound immediately like a giant bucket of ass. I was like, well, this is different. This sounds more like a metal album. I don't know, I was just kind of shocked. I was taking out the garbage yesterday at work and I was jamming it and I thought, well, this sounds decent, which wasn't a word I expected to use whatsoever during this review.
That's the
period.
Perfect soundtrack to taking out the garbage. No, like from the rip, all right, from the rip, it's one of the lead-off singles, No Nothing Ingrate, which I call Get the Fuck Off My Lawn death metal. It's Barnes complaining about someone, multiple people.
I think it's an autobiography.
Could be.
I'm just saying, if you read the lyrics, if you read the lyrics at any point during this album, you're going to notice that
You'll hate it more.
They were not written by a scholar. But I think No Nothing Ingrate might be an autobiography.
I don't know. Like, honestly, to be called an ingrate means you're not being grateful for something. What do we need to be grateful for in terms of 6 Feet Under, other than essentially lowering the bar substantially on death metal for years? But I will admit that it does come in very thunderously. Like, it just immediately stomps its way in. Again, same thing with Ascension and Judgment Day.
Yeah, dude, Judgment Day's a banger.
Yeah, Judgment Day, if it wasn't for, well, Barnes' terrible fucking vocals, we'll get to that. Honestly, it sounds like a Slayer track. Like, there's just great Slayer riffs to it. And this one's got, like, some great, like, catchy riffs that aren't, like, hellishly repetitive.
And most of that is because Barnes's vocals, at least on Judgment Day, are fairly minimalistic. To be honest, the track itself is like 4 minutes and some change, and there's not a lot of vocals going on. They could have made it an instrumental.
Yeah. I mean, Barnes kind of does his best not to ruin the song, but inevitably he does when you read the lyrics, because it's him just rallying off against people that he doesn't like, including internet trolls, and he wants them to be shot in the face. And what a brilliant way to show the world that what people say on the internet does not get to.
Right.
Excellent stance, Barnes. Believe it or not, we're actually still talking about the good aspects of this album, too. You know, it gets a little muddled because the bad wants to come out. But another good aspect about this album is the leads. I think the lead work on here is actually really solid, whether it is Jack or Ray doing the leads on here. I think they're really good for the most part.
Yeah.
They're not like super flashy, but they actually show some character overall. And generally when the leads come in, those bridge riffs are awesome. And I think those are probably some of my favorite moments on the album, because that's generally the point where Barnes shuts the fuck up and I get to hear, you know, something actually pleasant to the ear. And believe it or not, and this is only kind of a half-hearted good here, I will say that Barnes sounds better on here than he did on the last one. That is in no way saying that he sounds good, because he doesn't. But he does sound a bit better. And, well, there's one reason. There isn't a single E on here. Not one.
Which was disappointing, because I just simply wanted to hear Nick do the E impression, and I didn't get that.
That's why I still have a voice, because I haven't been doing the whole Barnes blasting. That's what I called it for a while.
Barnes blasting.
I don't know. I kind of take this as more proof that the internet didn't get to him, because, I don't know, I think the internet scared the E right out of him. Like, it's like, I'm not doing it anymore. They just make fun of me when I make that noise.
And to be honest, he didn't know any more vowels beyond that, so it's not like he could have replicated it with, you know, O or A or something. Words are hard.
Which is evident when you get down to the lyrics on here, because, man. Anyway, those were the bright spots, and I will say that I think Ascension, Judgment Day, and Bestial Savagery are pretty solid songs.
I would agree.
Even those songs I have issues with, which says a lot about the rest of the songs, which, honestly, I don't really like much else on here. You know, a lot of it, again, faster, more energetic, but hellishly repetitive. You get a lot of the same tremolo riffs that feel like kind of interchangeable, Faster rhythms, great. They kind of drive the songs a little bit more, but everything behind them is very dull. And then there's Barnes. Barnes still sounds absolutely terrible. The music has slightly improved on here, but Barnes hasn't. In fact, I think this band has to hold back often just because Barnes' capabilities in terms of vocals, coming up with cadences, lyrics, are really, really lacking. There are moments in here where the band actually shows off some flashier riffs or more dynamic songwriting. The opening to Bestial Savagery is absolutely killer, as is the beginning of When the Moon Goes Down in Blood. That's a stupid song title. It's a little bit different. They show off some clever melodies or just an interesting run of starts and stops and riff changes. And inevitably, I just feel like there's a point where Barnes just goes, "Whoa, slow down! Where you don't get crazy. Come on."
One of the things that I think they do to try and save Barnes a little bit more would be to multi-track his vocals. In Fit of Carnage, I swear to God, his vocals are tracked 10 times over. But even then, multi-tracking his vocals, all it does is bury a little bit the dry as sand delivery. If you multi-track death growls, obviously they're going to be a little bit more present. I think something that happened on Nightmares was that he simply just went for a one vocal take, here you are, here it is, and that didn't mask anything.
No.
And in this case, the death growls are tracked a bunch of times, and so it masks a little bit of what he's lost, but really, you can still tell.
Yeah, a little reverb here and there might help, but it's like putting a Band-Aid on a gushing wound, honestly, because Barnes, he's just kind of lost his vocals, and that is something that, I don't know, I don't think anyone is necessarily telling him in the studio or in the band. And it's not just his scabbed over vocal cords that are just holding back this band, it's the fact that his cadences are dull, and for the life of me, he still can't find the one.
His vocal cadences on, I'd say, 60 to 70% of these songs are not only delivered in the same way, but even in some of the good songs, like Judgment Day. Again, I like that song, but his vocals drag. And it may be because they're going a little bit too fast for his comfort as far as, again, finding things like the one. He fucks up a bunch as far as when he comes in or when he drops out, and it makes the song drag. And the suck part about that is once again, musically, it's better than it's been in a while. But he just can't get there. They're moving too fast.
But don't worry, they slow it down, and honestly, when they slow it down, it gets worse. Barnes' vocals become even more exposed, and the songwriting takes a hard shift when this band slows down. The first inclination of that was on When the Moon Goes Down in Blood. There's a breakdown on there where it has this chuggy syncopation. I'm all right, that's generally something cool, but Barnes is growling on top of that, and his cadence is dull, the vocals are right out in front, and again, it's just dry, no effects, and unfortunately you can make out what he's saying. There's a line on there that says, "The corpse is dead now," which I don't know if that's a dig against Cannibal Corpse or just the most redundant thing on the planet, like saying that German Shepherd is a dog. Either way, it's an L because, yeah, Corpse clearly, they're definitely struggling right now to push units and get on tours and all that.
Right, they're not on tour with Obituary right now, right, or Frozen Soul. I just saw Cannibal Corpse in a sold-out fucking venue, pictures of it, I didn't go, but pictures of it on the internet in a sold-out fucking venue with massive people. They were the first death metal band to play Red Rocks. Get the fuck out of here.
And if it's not a dig against Cannibal Corpse, then it's just dumb. So it's just bad either way. But when it comes to slow and stupid, the two tracks that really take the cake are Hostility Against Mankind and the insufferably dumb Neanderthal. My God, these songs are like musical constipation because these turds won't move. They are just plotting, boring, and hellishly repetitive.
Hostility Against Mankind, I'm going to be honest, I can't play guitar, but I'm pretty certain that if someone were to show me simply the notes to hit, that I could play this song beautifully. Really, it sounds like any local band fresh out of high school or maybe still in high school that you see at a bar and you're like, well, They try. It's just pretty much like one simple chord progression, and there's not a whole lot going on, and it's even in kind of like a start-stop motif, so it gives Barnes really a chance to go for the gusto.
Oh, yeah, and repeat, murder, and suicide. Packed. Stupid. This is like the most stock metal song, period. Like, it's barely a death metal song. It's more like death and roll. It's bad. And I was hoping it wouldn't get worse. And then we got to Neanderthal, which I hope you like the sound of that word, because he says it 28 times in this song. And he says it with the same enthusiasm as he says it the very first time he says it. Neanderthal.
And he does say Neanderthal 28 times. In fact, in the song Compulsive, I thought maybe that there was going to be a contest to see which word he could say more, either compulsive or Neanderthal. Neanderthal won by a whopping 13 times, because in compulsive, he only says compulsive 15 times.
That's amazing, yeah. Neanderthal literally just drags its knuckles for the entire 5 minutes of the song.
It's the longest track.
It's so bad. Like, it has no business being this long and this repetitive. Like, it just repeats essentially 2 parts on here. And they're both kind of boring. Like, the main riff is just like 3 basic chords, I think.
Yeah.
And then you get the bridge riff, which is a little bit better. It's like a crowbar riff, except not as good. And I know we brought up like the dumb lyrics in here, and generally I don't focus on lyrics, but again, the riff is broken down. I can hear what he's saying. And I got curious and looked up the lyrics, honestly. And Neanderthal, it sounds like the lyrics were written by one. Like, he brings up like dragging women by their hair and shit. Like, it's just plain stupid. Like, there's nothing redeemable about this song, and lyrics across the board here are a mixed bag of different subjects.
Like bestial savagery. Now, I would guess, if I were a betting man, that bestial savagery would be something about some sort of large mammal ripping apart either people or another large animal, or destruction in the woods, or something that would allude to bestial savagery. But it's not. It's about a tornado. Now, first of all, I think what you need to do, if you're going to sell this song at all, are you listening to me, entire band, or Barnes? I think what you guys need to do is call Reed Timmer, because this has theme song written all over it. If it's about a tornado, why not get the best tornado chaser in the land?
Honestly, they probably have, and I'm pretty sure Barnes like, it's probably the 40th email he'll answer. It's the first 39, I was just getting warmed up.
I mean, you got to keep going.
Or they're shooting for that Twister sequel. Yeah, it's coming out too. And Van Halen's not around to write the lone heavy song on it. So 6 Feet Under stepping to the plate and swinging violently and not making much sense. Another lyrical fit is Fit of Carnage too, which I swear Alex Jones probably wrote these lyrics for him, or at least he wrote these lyrics while watching an Alex Jones podcast or listening to it. I don't recommend either one of those. And I also don't really recommend this song, even though, again, it's a more energetic song. There's really nothing to it. And, like, here's, like, one of the main issues I have with this album. Like, this isn't as much fun to make fun of, because I feel like, again, there was a little bit more effort put into it musically. But at the same time, we essentially got the same results. Just a lackluster, dull, meat and potatoes death metal album. And we like meat and potatoes death metal.
Yeah.
We love Jungle Rot. Obituary absolutely rules. This band doesn't. And it isn't as though they don't have talented members. I mean, again, Jack and Lord Marco and the other guys as well, they're solid musicians. It's just they're kind of anchored to this island of suck that's called 6 Feet Under right now.
They definitely tried, and I think they definitely either pushed past Barnes and said, no, fuck you, we're going to do this anyway, or they tried to throw some old tropes at him and said, here, just give it a shot. Like, they tried. There's definite trying here.
Yeah, I mean, it was good hearing Lord Marco do some blasts again, and again, there's some solid riffs on here. Even the song Spoils of War has some flashy bass tapping in it that's kind of buried in the mix, but it adds a little bit of something to these songs. And I don't know, like, a lot of this I just feel like was stay in Barnes' comfort realm. And, well, that's kind of worked because, again, this band sells albums, and I know this album will sell to its fans. I didn't buy it. I won't buy it. But, Barnes' Comfort Zone is an odd place, and we got reminded of that with the last track in here. Cover of Nazareth's Hair of the Dog, or rather, in this version, Hair of the Dread. It's bad. It's bad. I know that Dan McCafferty just died, but I think he died again. Yeah. You get the cowbell, the riff, the song itself is, like a decent cover.
It's intact.
But Barnes comes in, and you're instantly you're pulled out of it. And if you love this song, you're probably going to be a little mad. Honestly, the only thing I was mad about was, at least when it came down the chorus, that whole, now you're messing with the son of a bitch. Like, he could have e'd that part. He could have e'd the fuck out of it.
Yep.
And honestly, it probably would have made it like a little bit more endearing. Like, no one listens to the TNT cover because they like it. They want to hear him make the weird noises, and they've embraced the fact that cover sucks. But it sucks in an endearing way. And I think this could have been that, but it wasn't.
And maybe all the trolling in the past scared him out of the E.
I think so.
It's altogether possible because he really did have that time.
Yeah.
That was a moment to shine, and he didn't take it.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you not take at least one opportunity to let the E flag fly?
Just that one moment. So yeah, overall this was better, but it's still bad, which that's just kind of confusing to say. Like, this is still probably one of the worst things I've listened to this year, but it's improved from the last one, which really shows you how bad that last one was. So overall, I'm only going to give it 1.5 stars. It's a half point better, and honestly, that extra bit goes to the band trying to kind of push beyond Barnes's wheelhouse a bit. I feel like there's some, solid songwriting moments. Like, a couple of these songs I really did like Judgment Day, again, minus the lyrics. I mean, I do feel a little complimented that he's going after internet trolls, and I'm probably considering myself one of those. But the song itself is good. Like, there's solid riffs on it. There's good energy on it. And there are moments throughout this album where, like, hey, that isn't bad. Yeah. But the bad really outweighs it, and the bad stands out. Like, there is nothing dumber than Neanderthal on this album, and that is saying something because I read all the lyrics. That song, just the laziest effort I think I've heard on an album in a long time.
28 times.
Yeah, like you watched the trailer for a National Geographic special about Neanderthals and like, you know what, I could watch this whole special and probably do like an in-depth thing, but I'd watch the trailer and that's enough. Neanderthal. Yeah. This album is still bad, but better. So yeah, if you're a big fan of 6 Feet Under, who knows, you might really dig this one. Like, you might say, hey, this is better than the last one. I don't know where your grade is on 6 Feet Under being good and being bad. Like, this one might fall in the middle, but it's a 6 Feet Under album, and in no way, shape, or form will I say that this is better than anything that Cannibal Corpse has put out in years. Same thing with Obituary and a lot of other bands. But again, check it out, form your own opinions. Again, I love Barnes and early Cannibal Corpse, but this is also shitty. Sorry. Not really.
I don't know. I think I gave the last record, a half star?
You gave it 1 because I didn't cut it in half.
Yeah, because I couldn't cut it in half. I'm going to go out on a limb and give this 2 stars, and that's for the music. They tried. They definitely tried. And there's a couple songs in here where I thought musically is actually pretty solid. Ascension is great. Judgment Day, musically, again, is great. Bestial Savagery, I really like that song musically. Lyrically, it's dumber than all get out. Come on. Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? You're going to write a song called Bestial Savagery and then make it about a tornado?
The chorus is literally cyclone, tornado.
What are you doing?
Cyclones aren't tornadoes, too.
I know what I expected going into this. I expected a train wreck, and while there's still a train wreck here, at least this time it's a smaller scale train.
There's some survivors.
Yeah, right. The conductor survived, and like some people in the caboose survived. At some point in the game, I think you got to cut your losses. Tracking vocals a bunch of times over isn't going to save a bad vocal delivery. It's just going to allow you to mask it a little bit more. If you can take those growls and change something ever so slightly in like the 7th or 8th tracking, you might be able to hide a little bit of what's gone. You can just tell that his vocals are pretty much shot. The fact that they're masking him a little bit doesn't really make a difference. The vocal cadences, again, are really all the same. I mean, I can count on one hand the amount of times he came in on time or where the vocals didn't drag. Musically, it's decent. It's only a quarter cup of butt sauce versus an entire cup of butt sauce. But the problem with that quarter cup of butt sauce is you still have to drink it all at once.
I ain't gonna drink shit.
And it's still butt sauce. And, like, who wants to drink that? If the Mars Attack aliens were in a lower register, that would be pretty much, I think, what you still hear.
I think Barnes' vocals might actually be the thing that makes their heads explode.
It might be.
Might be.
I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan. I probably won't go back and listen to this again. But, you know, again, if you're a 6 Feet Under fan and you've been a long time 6 Feet Under fan, you're probably going to find things in here that resonate with you. Again, musically, they tried a lot harder than they tried on Nightmares. I will give them that. But this is still pretty nightmarish.
So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to help us out there, there's a link down below to thrallsmetal.com. Our Patreon link is there. It is also on our channel up in the bottom right-hand corner of our banner. But if you're looking for Thralls Metal stuff, you have to go to thrallsmetal.com. We have t-shirts, both old and new. The old ones are discounted, provided we have your size. And we even have hats, too. So if you're looking for any of that stuff, click the link down below.
And as always, tons of stuff coming from Thralls of Metal. More album reviews, more discography rankings. Meshuggah's coming next. We will get there. Probably going to dip into that after MDF because we're going to MDF. And
yeah.
That's going to be awesome. And you'll probably see some shorts or something coming from us there.
Oh, you'll also see a live stream over on Future Ruins channel. We're going to talk about all the bands coming up. That'll be on Saturday, the 11th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
And I might be there if I get internet turned on at my house. I still don't have internet turned on at my house because life. But, you know, we'll get there. Anyway, tons of things coming, and we do it all for you guys. We appreciate you. We love you so much. We're thankful to have everybody that's become a part of the Thralls of Metal family. It's a whole lot bigger than either of us ever thought it would be, and I'm still shocked that people still keep subscribing, but here we are, and we appreciate you.
Yeah, you guys rule, even the salty 6 Feet Under fans, which I know you're probably showing up in the comments right now.
Oh, they're coming.
I still love you too, and I will definitely comment back. But yeah, you guys all rule. It's just amazing doing this, and we're looking forward to running into some of you at MDF, and again, just in the comments in general. Again, this is absolutely awesome, large in part to you guys. So thank you one more time, and we will catch you later.